Evening all, be quiet. Shut up. Good evening. Thank you everybody. Thank you, Damien. Are you Tory whip tonight?
I'll just a table top of
We don't, unless anybody on the council is here, it's going to spend part of the time as a member of the public. We don't have any members of the public, so I don't have to do all that bit. Is there anybody around the table who wants to record the meeting in addition to recording and undertaking? No? Fine. We've had apologies for absence, one of whom might yet turn up. Well, you've seen the reasons. Are you happy to accept these reasons? All those in favour? Thank you. Oh well, we've received it. Personal and disposable pecuniary interests. We were circulated with a new one for a councillor and asked to delete it. Are there any other?
Yeah, you need to do of the meeting first. Items on the agenda first.
All right. Right. Are there any clashes on items of the agenda? Andy?
I had a couple on the grant application. One we're not speaking in detail about. One is the Huddersfield Savings Club and the other is Hippothlicans.
Thank you. Mary?
Yeah, also on item 31 grants, 3 rolling grants, Friends of Cliff Wreck.
Right.
Sorry.
Sorry.
The sort of which we are making decisions, so I'll suggest they go out.
Well, we're not going to make a decision. We're probably not going to discuss it.
No.
Here we are.
We have
Oh, no? Tricia?
I'm also friends with Cliff Wreck.
Right. Jane, have you got your hand up or are you just resting it?
Well, actually, maybe I might I need to just have a check, but to see whether I need to put my hand up.
Any other?
If we've already declared these on our written one, do we have to declare them again here now at this?
Yeah.
If it's on an item on the agenda, yes.
Well, it's just a grant evaluation, the 10.
Right. Thank you. Any other?
The tech.
The tech. Tricia?
Tech.
Tech.
The tech. Okay. We've looked at the. Is there anything on the agenda people feel should be discussed in private session? I can't say I saw anything. No? Good. To confirm the minutes of the previous meeting, are you content that they are an accurate record? All those in favour? Okay, so grants. Do you want to talk to me?
Yeah. So this is. I just thought I'd flag things up to you. I know it's. I know the actual grants meeting's only a month away. So, but I wanted to discuss a few things with you with regard to the applications that we've had. The first thing I want to point out is that we've had very few grant applications, as you see. We've had none from Homley, and I think what's happened is. When we've set up our social media postings, I think that some of the posts have not posted to the community groups, which obviously is a bit, is not great. So my inclination would be, given that, you know, going through a grants application process and Homley Village Community Trust is not applying for any grants is very, very unusual. I think you should consider extending the grant deadline until the end of this month. So it gives, if that has been a mistake, then it will give them a few weeks to submit an application. I don't think it causes us too many problems because it's quite at the end of the month when the actual meeting is. So we still have 3 weeks to get on the
Can we send out a new notice to the groups we're concerned with?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I see all those in? Oh well, unless anybody wants to speak against that proposal. Can I see all those in favour of extending the deadline, please?
Could I just ask before we do that, would this be just a one-off then? We
Yeah.
revert back to the
Yeah.
1st of July next
Yeah.
year?
Or we're thinking that we've had an issue with the social media output, that's the thing
Yeah.
there, so,
Yeah.
so that would be obviously exceptional to normal circumstances.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm just aware that the likes of Honley Trust and that, they're aware of our grants process. If they've applied for it before, they should be aware of the cycle.
Yeah.
Obviously, a nudge would help,
Yeah.
but on this circumstance, then yeah.
I do take your point, absolutely. I mean, my thought also was similar to that, and where I was thinking, well, we give, you know, the Parish Council's giving money to all these groups, but they're not subscribing to our Facebook page, because everything was posted there, you
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
And you know, obviously people aren't subscribing to the Parish Council.
Potentially then, if I may, I would suggest to them that they do subscribe and they share more of our stuff. Obviously, we're asking for them to give feedback when they do get the grants, and ask them if they'd like to share it with other groups who also might benefit as well.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, so we've agreed. I have just seen hands, haven't I? We did agree it. I did take a vote.
Yeah, I think so. And then the other potential aspect that I just wanted to flag to you, we had a couple of applications where I would suspect that there would be some support within the committee for these two applications, but both of them did probably go against our guidelines. The two in question were Hepworth Hurricanes and Full Life Church Food Bank. Hepworth Hurricanes have applied for money for. Oh, sorry. It's well. Hepworth Hurricanes have applied for money for kits, basically, and it kind of goes against our policy. I'll read out to you what our actual policy says on this. So, from our guidelines, it says the Parish Council feels that purchase of sporting equipment, musical equipment, uniform and kits for adult members of organisation. Oh no, hang on.
Adult.
Maybe we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be okay.
I'm assuming Hepworth Hurricanes are youngsters, are they?
It's. Let me see what I asked for. It's team dresses. But I think it is for young people. I think we're going to probably be alright on that one.
Okay.
And then the other potential problem.
We need to get Andy back in.
This is why we need you. You know most about it, do you?
There is a grant.
No, we haven't discussed it yet, so no,
The next actually.
we now agreed we can discuss it.
Yeah.
Now, you've got to go out and sorry.
No, we need him back in to tell us whether it's for
If it's
young
children.
people or not.
Can you
Um,
answer
And
this?
is it a junior team or a senior team? That's all we need to know.
You're at Kent.
Well, all I know is that my granddaughter's in it, so.
Which kids?
You can't come back in, we haven't discussed it yet, we've just been
There
told.
could be seniors as well, I don't know enough about it. There's certainly juniors there.
Can I just have a look at the grant application on our Dropbox?
Yeah, we're not supposed to be discussing them today, are we?
No, but
We're just alerting us to them, so.
Yeah, but
Do people need to go out then?
kind
Not
of,
voting, are we?
yeah.
They might be useful.
Yeah, exactly.
You need, it's about deciding whether you are going to advise them to change the grant and so forth, and therefore, if there's someone who's got an interest, they should not be taking part.
According to
Could
their
they just sit in their
Instagram
seat?
site,
Sorry, can we,
according to their Instagram site, they have 4 senior and 8 junior teams. So we need to look.
Let me look.
Yeah.
I can't get it, Mary.
No, it's fine.
To provide a kit for 9 junior teams representing the Plymouth local level. So that's fine.
We can discuss it.
So do you want to get him again? Sorry.
Are we getting him back in before we discuss it?
You don't need to discuss it.
Because it's for junior teams.
Oh, we were just discussing whether it should be allowed in.
Yeah.
Just want Tom to go out again.
what was your other one? That you weren't sure?
Yeah.
Full Life Church.
So the other one that goes against some of the guidelines is Full Life Church Food Bank. They've basically applied funding to run a money raising event. Now in our guidelines it says any application for fundraising, even if the ultimate beneficiary is a local individual organisation, are unlikely to be considered. The parish council is also unlikely to underwrite charity fundraising events like black tie balls or local marathons. So I think that what they're applying for does very clearly go against that. I just wondered whether it was worth getting them to apply for either something else or just do the sensible thing and apply to us to pay for food like we've done on several occasions before.
Yeah, well, we can't give it for fundraising because we had long discussions about this, you may remember, about whether we would give it for people who are raising money for charities, and in the end we said no, if we want to give to a charity, we'll choose charity, we won't. And similarly fundraising, I think. So if, Chris?
Don't we have a restriction about giving funding for church activities? And what is the definition of a church activity in relation to this?
It's what they do is be a food bank when they apply to us. They happen to be a church, but they don't ask for church funding for church activities. Whenever they've applied to us for grants, it's been for food bank activities, and we've accepted that as a non-church activity.
As long as we've considered that, that's fine.
Yeah.
Do people have opinions about how we should go about communicating with them, what we should say?
I think we should inform them that that's not going to be successful, but that in the past they have been successful when they've been applying for money for food. Hint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy then, Jenny?
Yeah, and given that we've just extended the time.
Yeah,
we can
they've got
tell them
time
that
to
we've
get
got
another
time
one in.
to
Yeah.
review it.
And I think referring to the guidelines that are on the website is, that information is already there.
Yeah.
And obviously they haven't read it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll expect them to reapply.
Yeah.
We'll expect them to need your help to get it done as well. Sure as eggs is egg.
And then you'll see it's kind of outside of the grants process in a sense, and I did contemplate putting it to this meeting, is that we've had an application from Homley Library for funds. You'll probably be aware that they've got an earmarked reserve of money which is meant to be for sort of capital costs. So they're going to apply for all of that. And it's probably worth pointing out, I suppose, that I think perhaps they're wanting an ongoing commitment from the parish council as well. That's the impression I've got from the application form. So, obviously we'll have a look at it next month, but it's probably sensible to just be aware that may be something they're looking for as an ongoing multi-year.
I'm no longer a trustee, so I'm allowed to stay in the room. I know that they're about to embark on a whole series of grant applications because their application for the really huge one wasn't one. And quite a lot of the things they're applying for are, as any of you will know, done this, are matched funding. So them having a pool, sort of back up from us. I don't mean we'll go and give them money forever and ever, whatever they offer, but I think that's the background to it. Okay. So, shall we go through these?
So, just go through grant evaluation.
Grant evaluations. We had a lot of they were nice grant evaluations, weren't they? Lots of them sent photos, and I was really pleased with them. And most of them, I mean, one of them I thought was quite amusing. I think it might have been the film festival, but it might not have. One of them in the box that says, what have you done for the climate emergency? And there was something about, well, if people come at night, they're more likely to come on the bus, so we've probably saved some car fares. And I thought, oh dear, they're trying to find something to put in the box. But it's good that people are trying to do so, even if, you know, to
It is, and most of the groups did put something quite interesting in their ones, except the one that I thought was an environmental one, which was the Magdale one, which was about trees and things, and they claimed it wasn't.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Anyway, well, others are trying to make something up where that's the obvious one. So
They obviously felt it was a bit artificial or something, yeah.
Shall I report that to them?
yes.
Right.
They didn't feel that what they were doing was contributing.
Well, to be fair, it was about chopping trees down, not planting trees. So I suppose they might have felt bad about that. But clearly, if you are managing a woodland,
Exactly.
then
Yeah.
We've got a hand up here, Andy.
A couple of these have got underspends on them that we need to address.
yes.
Yeah, whether, as a matter of principle, whether we want underspend to be returned to us. We've talked about this recently, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't think we've quite had a policy, have we?
No.
But we have said money should be returned generally.
Yeah.
I wonder whether we ought to develop something a bit more concrete than that and say anything over £100 should be returned, anything less than.
Well, of course, some of it will go away when we start buying it ourselves and give the stuff to people for the VAT advantage. At that point, they can't either under or
Well, these are
overspend.
fairly significant, aren't they? £750 and 560.
Yeah.
So when
Do people have any strong views about whether we should ask for unspent money to be returned, or can I move to a vote? Mary?
So I do feel quite strongly that money should be returned, and I think perhaps 100 is maybe a little generous. I would think perhaps 50.
I was just going by this one at £65 and
Yeah.
11p. I don't know, I mean,
I
perhaps
think,
there ought to
yeah.
be somewhere we say it's not worth the bother.
I think this needs to go to the Grant Working Party, and we need to make very clear that's what we think.
In the meanwhile, do you feel we should ask these two to return?
I do.
Jenny, then Damien.
Well, I think just checking that the project is complete and
Yeah.
that it's not going to be spent in the
Absolutely,
next few
yeah.
months, you know, because it's overrun for good reason, you know.
That's
so
right, yeah.
I think it's a matter of looking at individually.
Well, it isn't actually an underspend, it's a delay of spend.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Damien?
We've discussed this before, and just to sort of emphasise the need for tact when we ask for this back on there, we really need to applaud them for their honesty,
Yes.
because they've not just written all the numbers up and said it's all being used that one there, but also invite them that they can apply for some more should they need some
That's
in the
right.
future.
That's
So I think
right.
we should really cautious how we put that there, not like we want every penny back because we don't trust you. We do, it is
Yeah.
really applauded.
And I think you're right, I think that's a good point, but with everybody we're saying, yes, we'd like you to return it, please, we'd say, but of course, as you know, you can apply as the need arises, yeah. Thank you.
If we're moving on from these evaluations, could I just say that I thought there were two that linked closely to our thinking about the civic. One was that they wouldn't use the civic again because there wasn't enough footfall, you know, the exhibition that Sherry Memories had put on in the cafe. I thought it looked great, but I did for one didn't know it was on, otherwise I would have loved to have gone to it. So I think that is one reason why we've really got to increase participation and utilisation of the civics. I thought that was interesting. And another one that, you know, some of the films that they are supporting the civic by having the films here. So again, the close link between all these I think should be noted.
And perhaps we should think about not social media activity or anything like that, which I don't mean that we shouldn't do it, but maybe the civic needs some more display space at pavement level about where it can display what's on.
Yes, yes.
Harry?
I think you've got more chance of more people seeing Shane on Facebook.
No, I don't mean either or, I mean both. I mean, they've got to do the social media stuff. Yeah, I didn't mean instead of. Right, okay. Thank you, Jenny. Where have we got to? We're on here. Rolling grants.
I think I need,
Oh, yeah.
not just
So, as it says, I kind of misled the committee last time, and then you were voting on something you shouldn't have really. I got you voting on approving payments of things, but obviously the payments of things are dependent on us seeing the paperwork and being okay with it. So we hadn't got that at the time. Since then I've asked the people who've got rolling grants for that paperwork, and I've shared it with Councillor Collin as chair. It doesn't go out to the rest of the committee, you just see the evaluations. So I think now we can basically vote on approving the payments or not as you see fit.
And I was happy with the paperwork. So, I mean, their background paperwork. So can we do each of those in turn? The Festival of Folk, £1,500. Everybody. Friends of Cliffwreck, 500. That's everybody. Holmesford Arts Festival, 1,500.
And I apologise, I should have gone out for that one. It's still fine.
Well, you were very
I've not
quiet,
voted,
so.
I've not voted.
And you might have noticed that Cliffwreck had an underspend as well on theirs of £118.50. So does the same apply?
Well, I think so, really. I mean, if you decide you're going to have a rule,
Yeah.
and or they could alter their application to 400. But no, it'd be much more complicated to do that. So we can bring Mary back in.
Councillors?
And then as it says, and so there are still 3 other rolling grants, but the Home Value Patient Transport have been in touch. I mean, every year I seem to be chasing them, but they've actually got in touch this time and said that they're just waiting on getting paperwork on their accountants. So hopefully that will be sorted by the next meeting or one after that, but hopefully that will be sorted. Then the other 2 are, we normally give them later in the year, well, it's usually in the start of the next year, in January time. So we'll worry about that and deal with them.
The Grants Working Group met and established what ground we wanted to cover and things, but felt that this needed to be, that there were people who weren't there, who hadn't been invited, who had wanted to go. We later checked the minutes and there wasn't anybody who was mentioned in the minutes who hadn't been invited, but it seems appropriate for us to open this up. If there are people who want to be on, currently it's myself, Jenny, Mary,
Yep.
yourself,
Glenn.
and Glenn. If you want to be on this, we are looking at, as we do regularly, the way in which grants are done and any new parameters we want to add up. It's a review of where grants stand. Is there anybody here who wishes to be on that group? No.
Can I just say that I know Sarah Weinberg does want to on it, even though she's not here today.
Okay, are we happy to accept that nomination on her behalf by Jenny? All those in favour? That's everybody. Okay, so Sarah is now on the group. We will send out, and it was also said in that meeting, the original meeting was a Zoom meeting, but there was at least a couple of members of the group who felt that a face-to-face meeting is better, certainly at the early kind of intricate stages where it's getting bedded down. So a notice will go out and it won't go from this computer because this computer won't let me put messages in the box. I can only do a subject line. Rich will send out a meeting to the group, including Sarah, with some suggested dates to meet in the flesh. Andy?
But I volunteer.
Off you come.
You can vote on it?
Oh yeah, all those in favour, Andy joining. Okay. The next is an underspend. Well, we've got most of them. We've already discussed that, haven't we?
Or do you want to do it? Do you want to just get
Oh,
confirmation?
can I see you voting? What do you want? Blah. All those in favour of asking for returned money from the underspend? That's everybody.
And obviously, because we're extending the deadline, they can again apply.
Yes.
So I will say the same to them.
Chairs expenses, there's nothing to say. The AGOR,
Nothing particularly to say. They asked for some extra documentation about the risk assessments. There didn't seem to be any problems with it, and that we're just in the queue at the moment. So we normally hear by sort of what, September time.
so is there any reason we need to leave the notice, the stuff up on the notice board?
No.
No. Anybody want it kept up on the notice board passionately? All those in favour of taking it down from the notice board? Thank you.
Thank you.
Schedules of payment. Schedule of payment.
Yeah, the first two are just a note. The one for June and the sort of the finalised one for June, and then the draft one for July. They've all been. Those payments have already been paid, so there's nothing to approve there. And then the third one, just so on the one for August, the ones we're approving are the yellow ones. So these ones are not. These ones are sort of unexpected or out of the ordinary. So 3 of them are for what you've just approved, the rolling grants for the Arts Festival, the Festival of Folk and Friends of Cliff Rec. And then you've got one to Viking for stationery, and then the other one is Waldale Electrical Company, the deposit on the solar panels and the roof of the toilets. So if you could please approve all of those payments.
Can you approve that? All those in favour of those payments?
Thank you very much.
I need to initial it right now, says here.
It doesn't say right now.
Okay, the financial statements, you've all had time, you've had these for a long time. Unless you have queries, I suggest we just look at, so May 25.
I would just note the whole lot. So
Just note more than one go.
unless anybody's got any
Yeah.
they want to bring
Queries,
up.
questions, comments at all, they are welcome.
I thought it was absolutely spiffing.
Come on. Can we minute spiffing, please? Can the younger people in the room tell me they know how to spell spiffing?
I think so.
Because they've probably never heard of it before. Right, so are we happy to note 1 and 2? All those in favour? Yeah, noted. To consider bank reconciliations.
Right, so shall I just talk through this?
Yeah.
So as you may be aware, having been to a few of these meetings, you have to check the bank statement against our reconciliations, which are done through our accounts package. Normally they always balance perfectly. This time one of them doesn't, and I've been through it with Councillor Green, who was doing the internal controls checks last week. But it does look as if we're £55,000 down. So you know you need to be comfortable with how this has happened.
I
I've seen where it's gone.
So how was the holiday? How was the holiday in South America? Really?
What was the split?
It's a journey. It's just, do people know why we were 55,000
No.
liked?
It tells you.
Yeah. Right, so the problem was that when we closed HSBC's accounts, that they sent us a cheque, and obviously when you've got a cheque, it's kind of money that you've got, but it didn't show up on our bank statements. So it does look as if we're imbalanced by £55,000. So on the Unity Trust Savings Bank account for June, I've had to record that it's basically an undeposited cheque. So I just hope that you're confident with that. I have put in the July bank statement to show you that eventually the money does turn up. So it is covered. But this is what you're meant to be checking. This is you're meant to be on top of me, making sure that I'm not stealing £55,000.
Thank you for pointing it out to us.
So I would suggest if nobody's got any problems with any of them, you just do them all as a single thing.
Right.
Are we on to which one?
Sorry.
Which agenda item are we on and what's the
Number 4 under 35, under financial statement.
page 5? I have got something on this, but I don't know whether I'm in the right place for it. It's to know that there's projector shortfall of around 3,000 for staffing. Am I in the right place?
No,
Right.
it's later on.
All right. Okay. Give me a problem.
We'll tell you.
I've got all cross.
Are members happy to note the things we were
No,
looking at?
you need to approve them.
Which ones we approved? It says
All
note
of
here.
them. Well, you noted
Ah.
those bits, you noted
To
those
approve,
items
I'm
and
with you.
approving
Approve all bank reconciliations. All those in favour? Thank you. The draft I&E, do you want to talk to that?
Yeah. Wasn't an awful lot to say. As you can see, the half of the precept was received in May. We're on target for most of the income. As you'll see later on, we've got a potential problem with the Gartside building in that the current tenant has submitted their notice. They've given 3 months' notice. So there is going to be a shortfall on that income essentially. Unless things are resolved very quickly, but that's a service provision thing rather than a finance and management consideration. In terms of the expenditure, you will know I have discussed this with the staffing committee. This was a mistake by me. When we're doing the budgets, unfortunately in terms of salaries, we're working a year behind. So we were essentially working with the 23-24 figures. So I factored that into the budget, and I also factored in the 24-25 figures. But then I neglected to also include the 25-26 figures. So the problem is that we're going to be about 3,000 down at the end of the year, which is unfortunate. All I can say is I apologise for the mistake. I won't make it again. But it was just, there was an article in the Clerk this month saying how confusing it gets in terms of budget setting, that they only agree pay in November, which is then backdated to April.
Yeah.
So all I can do is apologise for that mistake. And then the only other things I've made the point of is that we're likely to be a bit over budget on the internet and phone. Our package has increased in price, so everything else is pretty much on target. I don't know whether Councillor Bellamy had.
It was more,
anything more to say on that?
it was more of a question. I wanted to know what impact it might have on financial position at end of year.
Well, I mean, we do have general reserves that are set aside to cover things like this. It may be problematic in the sense that we have to have a certain amount of reserves. We're meant to have 25% of reserves that just kind of sit there in case of problems. So this money will essentially be digging into that. As will, for example, we're going to be a little bit over budget on our insurance. It looks like we'll be a little bit over budget on our telephone. We may be under budget on other things. But yes, it's likely it will affect our, it will affect the 25% thing, but I don't know what yet. But it's something to be aware of when we're spending money, I suppose.
So, go on, can I come back? Alright. So, with the ongoing pressures on budget and everything else, I'm just wondering if our current staffing model is the most efficient and effective. Or do you think so? Would it be, I don't know, would it be worth reviewing just to make sure? Because I've been doing some research, and to be honest, value of money for Home Valley Parish Council is not very high.
Well, that's for the budget process that's going to start in autumn. That's for discussion then. You're absolutely within your rights to bring your opinions about these kind of things. And Councillor Barnett has asked me for some figures with that in mind. So absolutely, you can discuss those kind of things. Yeah. That's part of the process.
So, is a staffing structure review being considered at the moment?
No, not at the moment.
No.
But when we come to doing next year's budget, that's when it will be considered.
Well, I know Councillor Barnett is asked for figures in preparation for the next meeting of the staffing committee. So that's essentially that process. That's him. He's asked for some figures so that he can present a case which you might want to support, or you might want to get behind what he presents, and that can be part of the arguments. It may be part of, when in the past we've presented multiple budgets, and people have chosen, which one they prefer. And this is part of that process. You can present a budget and cost it out and sort of report on what it means for workloads and that kind of, and the work of the parish council, and that's perfectly normal practice.
It's just a value of the money thing. When we're coming up as one of the works.
Yes, now this is the time for this discussion, isn't it? Chris.
Just a query for information. So this shortfall in our 25% emergency fund, if we did under that, that's something we have to budget to make good next year, is it? How does that work?
No, not really. I mean,
It's desirable, not mandatory.
it's a recommend. I mean, the whole point about these reserves is it's there to deal with unexpected situations. I mean, this is a mistake rather than an unexpected situation, but it's meant to be there in case something goes wrong. Particularly it's there if for whatever reason Clerk Leeds didn't pay the precept. It's meant to be there so you've got 3 months of work without that income coming. That's what it's for. It's meant to get you through 3 months of work. So that £3,000, it wouldn't have a huge impact because our a quarter of, our budget's like 400,000 quid. So it's about 100,000 quid a quarter. So 3,000 quid's a relatively small proportion of that, but it's not insignificant.
Okay, thanks.
Lauren?
I wonder if one of the lessons from this that we should perhaps in the next budget round be overestimating for the pay award. Knowing, the awards will be what it will be, so it doesn't affect that, it's just being prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense. I mean, I'd suggest it should be aiming to be a little bit over on every budget, you know, that's, or you know, it's very hard being bang on, let's face it.
And nothing, the price of nothing ever goes down.
Yeah, fair point. But, you know, I do, you know, this was a mistake rather than a, you know, rather than a calculation error.
Okay, so do people feel there are any actions on I&E that we need to take, other than bearing, you know, bringing up staffing levels at the staffing committee and perhaps over budgeting next year, for, particularly for salaries? Any other points that people feel we ought to? Okay, thank you. Earmarked reserves.
You'll remember last month, I think Councillor Wilson mentioned this probably last year, I think, about wanting more information from committees about the holdings of earmark reserves, hopefully to make sure that the earmark reserves have a purpose, that money's being spent appropriately, it's not being sort of squirreled away and just left to sort of sit there. I just knocked together that one-page report, basically. I don't know what people thought about it. It's certainly part of the discussions you can have about whether you thought it was any use at all or whether you change aspects of it. But all either the chairs themselves or in some cases the officers got involved with the reports. I thought it was quite useful actually, personally, in terms of what was said, and it gave us a bit of clarity about what, you know, that some earmark reserves are going to be sort of wound up, and others had a longer term purpose. So I wondered what people thought about the process.
That's not very useful.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a thing to jog people's memory about, we need to do something with this, either close it down, use it, whatever, rather than just it mounting up year on year.
There were relatively few when you read it through.
Yeah.
There were very few where you thought, oh, we can shut that one down actually. I was quite surprised. I thought there would be more. Tricia, then Jenny.
This is my first year on F&M, and I found it very informative and helped with clarity on earmarked reserves, and provided me with some aspects that I'd not considered before, so I found it helpful.
Thank you. Jenny?
I also found it helpful, when the one about the scout hut, it says that you'll contact the scouts to see, so has that been done and any progress?
No, well, you needed a decision that was
Decided. I think your suggestion of finding out if it's still a project is where we start from. You know? And if it isn't, again, it's say, well, listen, we need to do the paperwork. I know we haven't given you the money, but we're going to not give you the money, but you can always apply again. Andy?
Haven't we been here before?
Yeah.
Aren't we at the point now of saying,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but the courtesy demands that we contact the good check. They might just have put a spade in the ground without us knowing, so we better check. The one that I felt we should keep going was the Honley Library one, because I think they'll need the 15 grand we're going to probably going to give them at the next meeting. I think we should keep the earmarked reserve as well, as I say, to be as a pot for them when they
Do you mean top it up to 50?
Yeah.
Top it up again? Okay.
That's my personal feeling, that's not...
is it the same 15,000 that's in the budget, or is this different?
No,
This is different.
this was money that was set aside. I mean, there's been an earmark reserve since we took ownership of it, and it was meant for capital projects. Basically, it was meant. I thought they were going to use it for the extension. Essentially, that's what it was for. I got the impression that they weren't aware of it. They rang up to bid in the sort of normal grants process, and I said that there is money set aside in an earmark reserve for capital projects. So that's how they're aware of it, essentially.
And they're likely to have more. I mean, the next 2, 3, 5 years, they're likely to have quite a lot of capital stuff.
Should they not then go through the grant procedure? I mean, it's 15,000, it's almost in.
I mean, this is something for our budget process. You know, I don't know whether they've heard from the Civic that we're paying out to them every year, and perhaps they're thinking that they should be similarly supported.
Yeah, I mean, what applies to one applies to the other. I think the other thing is, if they are doing these things where they have to find match funding or prove match funding, they won't have the time to wait for another F&M meeting and full council meeting, will they? Probably. So, I mean, earmarking it doesn't mean we automatically spend it, though I think there's quite a high chance.
I mean, the thing is, if you're going to give it them anyway, there's no point it being in the earmark reserve. You might as well just put it in the budget. If you're giving them, you know, like we're doing with the Civic, the 40,000 is in the budget.
Right.
It's not in the earmark reserve anymore. We are committed to giving 40,000 a year to the Civic. So, in a sense, if you're saying that they're going to come back every year for money for their sort of development, it may be more sensible that it's in the budget.
Because it's in the budget rather than not. Which do you think?
I agree with what Richard said there. I think it needs to be the same as the Civic, but I think they both need to be. I mean, obviously not the same amounts, because this is a lot bigger than what Holme Library is. But I think we need to be committed because they are both our buildings.
Yeah.
So I
And
think
they're both
we will-
valuable assets to the community.
Yeah.
The process should be the same.
I think the process should be exactly the same.
So, would somebody like to propose that instead of extending the EMR, we make it?
I don't think we need to do it now.
We don't need to
This is
do
all
it.
part of the budget process.
But it needs to go in the budget.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be clear for them anyway.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Glenn?
I've just got a quick question, if I may, about the COVID memorial budget, because my understanding is there was £6,000 and it was quite clearly broken down in Mary's plan as to what that was going to be spent on. And then the remaining would go towards the Memorial Garden at Homley Library.
I have written to you today.
Have you? Oh, right, sorry, I haven't seen
Yeah.
it. Fine, if you've written to me today, I'll withdraw my
Well, I
question.
mean, it was no more than about an hour and a half ago. So,
No, right.
but anyway, I mean, there's about I think there's sort of 3,600 or something in the budget. Oh, sorry, in the earmark reserve that's left. But we're still waiting for John to build the plinth. We're still waiting for Jen's hassling Kurt Lees, and she's going to, I suppose, approach
The councillors.
you two councillors and your colleagues to try and get some movement, because Jen has been hounding them since April, and we're getting no response. Hence why the money's not ended up with Homley Library. It's all kind of connected.
Send us an email, Jen.
Hang on, Mary.
I was going to say more or less that, but let's not forget the plinth which John Forrest is going to make. So we are waiting for third parties in both cases, and I believe we're waiting for Friends of the Library to send us an invoice for the benches. Or they may choose to just wait until we know what the balance is. So as soon as John Forrest has done his work, then that's his best. We really need to shuffle this off, really. It mustn't go
I've just been in discussions with various local groups about how much money, what the shortfall is, and how much more money we'll need to contribute from Friends of Homley or the Open Garden project to be able to complete it properly. So obviously the more clarity we get on how much is left, the easier it is for us to do that.
We're not quite in position. We more or less know, but we're not quite in position to say that. No, I noticed in the Open Gardens that was mentioned. It was mentioned that some of the income would go there.
It must be said, Mary and Jen have had a nightmarish time on this whole process from start to finish. And it's been other people delaying everything at every stage. Well done for staying there.
Absolutely.
Can I make a few other things with regard to earmark reserves? I'll probably ask for the go ahead to do some things. I don't think I can do the next one. This is Councillor Morgan has asked if the two reserves for the Gartside building and Gartside energy projects could be merged. That they're basically service provision earmark reserve. I don't think we can do that. I think probably the Service Provision Committee probably makes that decision. It sounds perfectly reasonable to me to just merge them together. But I think that needs to be on their agenda. And then the other one, I undercalculated on the rolling grants pot, so we've got £100 less than we should have. So can I just have approval to move that £100 from general reserves into the earmark reserve?
All those in favour?
Thank you very much. And then the other one, the shopfront design codes, I think it's got £90 left. So we're going to close that. So that's already been approved by planning. So that should be gone. The assistant clerk's doing that as part of her training in terms of doing the accounts. That's me on that bit.
Right, thank you. The Civic. I thought it was a very good meeting we had last week on the visioning process. It is a pity that so few of the Civic trustees were able to attend. And apart from the council trustees, I think there was one, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Which is frankly disappointing.
Can I just say that was one of the main things when I compared it with the report that we got from Homley, was how many people that they got involved, you know, their large number, because it does need a lot of people to be committed to something for it to be really successful, and I think that's one of the reasons that Homley is doing so much better in terms of being well organised and on top of things. And I was very disappointed that there was only one trustee there. I did speak to Alex at the end of the meeting and asked why other people as the trustees, and whether he thought there was enough people on the, is it called the trustee committee? Is that what it's called?
Trust?
The trust. There are so few people on it, but he said he liked it being a small group because he thought they could work well together. But I don't think it's broad enough, and I think maybe there needs to be somebody else. But I don't know how to go about sort of without criticising that small group. They do need more support from other people in some capacity.
There are 8 trustees,
Yeah.
but 2 of them are myself and Steve.
Yes, yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah.
At the moment, well,
And if you look at the number of the
One is-
large number of people that Homley have got, you know, they've got.
we are as a group of trustees looking to expand by 1.
But they've got Homley and Library of City. They've got a board of trustees. They've got a management group. They've got other groups with different responsibilities. So I'm just thinking we should look at that model.
The model of management.
Yes,
Yeah.
to see
It's
how
worth
to.
considering.
I mean, in terms of management, there's Dawn and Charlotte. Dawn was there anyway.
Yeah.
Charlotte, I don't think, could make it. But then we've got a lot of volunteers, so perhaps we could have involved the volunteers.
Yeah.
Well, all of the people Jenny just referred to are volunteers.
I mean, the volunteers that don't have any
Yeah.
input to the trustees.
But maybe they need to be given some input to it.
Yes.
I mean, I've got Chris and Mary down to speak in a minute. I presume you were disappointed at the absence of trustees as well. Such a critical meeting.
I mean, unfortunately, the build-up of the trustees, several of them are working people, and they struggle to make these sort of meetings.
Well, do they
Yeah.
struggle to make the trust meetings?
Usually they know in plenty of time in advance, or sometimes they attend by Zoom. So Mark Angelos, for instance, he's all over the country. Very often he doesn't actually make the meeting physically.
I mean, we had plenty of warning for this meeting. So that's, you know, we had 2 or 3 months, I think, really. So it's, anyway, I mean, maybe, I don't know, I feel inclined to very gently express our disappointment to them. What do you feel about that, Andy?
I've said a mixed feelings about it. I do know that with them being working people, it's very difficult.
But that makes me worry if as working people, have they got the time and commitment to do the job?
Do the job properly.
You know, and I don't want to criticise.
Exactly. No, but we don't want this
I'm
to
worried
come out
about it.
as criticism,
No.
just as disappointment. I'll move on. Chris, then Mary.
I was going to observe that the Civic's a different model to the library in that they employ people to do some management, don't they? So if I was a trustee of the Civic, I would be anticipating that Dawn's doing a lot of the work that probably the trustees have to do at home the library. That's my observation.
Yeah.
And I'm not keen on saying that we're expressing disapproval. I think we either have to decide that we're happy that we have a Friends of the Civic running the Civic, or we have to move towards considering different ways of managing the Civic as well.
Mary?
I mean, my concern was, I know doing minutes is difficult, but in the minutes of the meeting on the 12th, the item about the civic vision Friday, I was just a little disturbed maybe about the tone of that really, where it says that whilst input from the parish council is invaluable, it must be remembered the visioning document forms part of the business plan and the architect's plans created by the trustees. I feel that I would like more of a sense of us working together and working in partnership, because I think happens with Family Library. I mean, we've talked about this before, there's a bit sense of us and them really. And we are the owners of this building, and we have, you know, really we need to be involved in the formulation of the vision.
I think there's a little bit of sort of history here, isn't there? This vision document set up very much as a trustee thing anyway.
Well, one more reason they should have been here.
And it's the council that's come into it later on. So the members of the trustees will probably feel that they've been involved with this at a much earlier stage anyway.
It wasn't my impression that the architect felt that.
That they have. And the architect sounded out some of these ideas that he put forward last week, was it? Many weeks ago.
So they have their own visioning meeting and then they don't come to the joint one?
No, that's not quite what I was saying. What I was saying was this exercise of developing a vision started long before the council decided to fund it. So it was a trustee initiative.
Which they'd never shared with us.
Which there was no requirement to do because it was a trustee thing. It wasn't being funded by the council originally. It was only later in the day that we decided as a parish council to take that on.
I mean, I agree with some of the comments that have been said, but separately, I'd like to know, do we have an idea of the time scale at the moment for producing the business plan and accepting that the business plan and the visioning go hand in hand? You can't have one without the other, really. Do we have any kind of time scale?
Well, it's been, I think the second version has been done now, which the architects have. I think I've sent it to Jen as well.
Yeah.
It's not a finished document yet. One element of that is a brainstorming session that's scheduled for later this month to develop new ideas for increasing revenue, and that will form part of the business plan, so it will be updated again. But that's already gone, that version has already gone to the architect, so that whatever they do is set against what the trustees see as a business for the future. And I think that's very necessary.
Does that mean that a draft business plan has been produced?
Yeah.
It has been shared with the architect?
Yes.
Have we seen it?
No.
It's just gone to Jen this week.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's gone to, I think it came to me Friday, did it?
Yeah, I actually got that on the day of the meeting that we had with the architects. So I brought it with me and that went to the architects. So that he went away with it.
Will you be taking it to service provision then, for discussion at service provision? Or forwarding it or putting it on their agenda?
No, because it's not a service provision issue.
Now, this is it.
Out here.
Yeah.
Of course it is, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly email it to this committee.
Yeah, when's our next meeting? Ages.
And September.
Grants one there.
Oh, end of September's not too bad. Okay, can we have it on the agenda for the next meeting then? And some time, you know, not just a couple of minutes, I think, some time to. And if you can send it out earlier, that's good. The longer we have to mull over it, the better, I think.
I'll send it out straight after this meeting, Chair.
Right, thank you. Damien.
Can I just offer a bit of my concerns really, that we don't need to be too critical of the civic, the friends of the civic group themselves there. They've been doing an excellent job for a while, we've been putting the effort in, and I know sometimes that we were concerned because they came to us with this surprising shortfall in money before, and that's what led us to want to know more about their business and their accounts, so we could actually accommodate that in future, and that one there. But I'm just mindful that we don't want to overreach so far that we put these people off from being part of the community and doing fun there.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to a little bit cautious there. We would like them to engage more, I agree with that one there, but obviously we just don't want to be overly overburdening to those, and that's all.
I think we all agree with that. We know it's a knife edge we're walking on, and in that we must be responsible with public money and all of that, and so we'll, you know, keep an eye on stuff, but equally we've got to encourage them to be their best selves.
Just back on the business plan, there was one that goes back to 2013, which, I mean, I can share as well if that's...
I think we've all seen that one.
It wasn't...
A business plan from 2013 is completely irrelevant in 2025.
The point I was making was I don't think that's been updated until now.
Right.
Which is worrying.
Hang on, Jenny.
It'd be interesting to know, though, if that business plan from 2013 had actually been followed and whether it had achieved what it said to achieve.
You
That
volunteering?
would be informative.
You volunteering to do a summary for the next F&M?
I'd like to have a look at it and see if the targets, as it were.
Yeah, maybe we should all have a look at it.
I don't know if you've got that, Jenna, the 2013 one.
No.
We'll have it somewhere.
We'll have it somewhere, but if not, can you get it from Dawn or?
Oh, if you put it handy,
You
could
got it,
send
right.
it'd be great.
And maybe we should all have it. Jenny?
I think you might be wanting to bring this to a close for further discussion at the next meeting, but the point that Mary made about that statement of, you know, the minutes seem as though we're not a partnership, that we weren't working together. And that's the one that worries me. We want to support the trustees, you know, we want it to be a wholesome partnership, not an us and them. And that, it seemed to, well, the architect had actually sort of stated that how the improvements and the repairs could run alongside each other, where in that minutes of their last meeting, it seemed to be saying that we were responsible for the structure and they were responsible for the refurbishment. But with how the architect's moving it forward, it's those two things going together, which reinforces the need for it to be a partnership.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely, yeah. Well, I guess we just carry on working at the relationships are difficult. And we carry on working, creating opportunities, creating joint fixtures, things like that.
yeah.
Okay, thank you everybody.
And come up with some creative ideas about how we can do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Holly Library. Any further actions? Well, we're going to budget rather than earmark reserve a sum. I don't think we've agreed it will necessarily be 15,000. It currently is in the earmarked reserves. We can consider what that sum should be when we do the budget. Other VAT related issues?
Yeah, a couple of things that came up from the Parkinson Partnership report that they did. The first one, as you can see, is that we probably owe HMRC for some VAT on garages. the lady who did the report, I was always unsure why we were registered for VAT, and she came here and she was discussing our business arrangements, and she said, oh, you've got to charge VAT on garages. So in terms of an action, if you are happy for me to do so, I will be contacting HMRC to see if we owe them any money, perhaps try and convince them that we shouldn't owe them any money, but it won't be a ton of money.
I was going to say, we need to be careful about how much we then say to the tenants, right, you owe us £20,000 for that, we
Well, we can't do that. And so I think they can only charge us for 4 years worth. So it's not going to be a ton of money anyway. But it's something we'll perhaps need to think about when we are costing garages in future, about whether we take the VAT off what we currently charge or add it on the top. The other aspect is that we could charge VAT. I mean, I know the situation with the shop and the Gartside building is up in the air at the moment, and Service Provision will be discussing that. But you could also charge VAT on that if it was keeping going as a business. You could charge VAT to them as well. So that's another potential decision.
I mean, my view is that we should charge it as we go along.
Yeah, I would tend to agree.
Because that's what you meant to do, that's how it works.
It is a choice, but it does ultimately help us with reclaiming money back from VAT.
We're going to pay it, I think we should charge it. And if there were occasions where this was some massive problem, we could have we can discuss exceptions, but in general I think we should charge it. If you're registered for VAT, you're expected both to pay it and to charge it. And it all moves round, and no worked out where it all ends up. How we charge it, they claim it back, they charge it, they claim it back. The whole chain goes on and on forever.
But ultimately that's a service provision decision. We can obviously feed to service provision what we think will be sensible. I think that's their territory.
So service provision now knows what we think.
And then the other thing that came up with from the Parkinson Partnership report, which we haven't been doing, is that we need to undertake this partial exemption calculation. I've not done it yet, but I'm just letting you know that I'm going to do it. It's something we should be doing every year to work out, what we can claim back VAT wise. So by next meeting, hopefully, I will have done it, and we will know where we stand.
Allotment, tenancies. Does anybody feel there should be any further action other than the ones we just took? No. The tenants that have been chased up, have they given any response, or are they still?
No, I've not had anything from the ones who haven't sent. We did get the money from that gentleman who was in hospital, you remember? So he's out of hospital. He's paid his money for the garage, so that was very good. But no, I haven't got the tenancy reports. This is a trouble when you allow people to pay online. They pay online and they forget they've got to return all the paperwork. So I will keep hassling them.
Okay. Garages, nothing much to note there. Outside, we need to be looking for a new tenant.
Or not.
Yeah, or not, yes.
I think that should be something to consider, whether it is worthwhile, because I think the time and effort and fees involved in getting a suitable tenant is time consuming and expensive, and hasn't so far proved worthwhile. None of the tenancies have lasted very long.
And when it was like last time, weren't the two completed?
They were.
Did we go back to that?
We had a commercial tenant and we turned them down to take the one that didn't stay long.
But none of the commercial ones have stayed very long either. I mean, I think we've failed to some extent by not having putting the window in, the door, the renovation, which has been held up for reasons I completely understand. But I think we should accept that it's not a great building to rent out. It's not a very pleasant building to spend any length of time in. So I think it's not surprising that the tenancies don't last very long.
Well, we need to think about what it can do for the community. And going back to the point you make, I have for a long time said we should get a window in
Yes.
and all that stuff before we attempt
Yes.
to let it again.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Because
agree.
it'd be a much more desirable property. We'll need planning permission because it faces onto a, you know, a listed space or something.
But given that the toilets are being refurbished, I think this is the time
The
to
time to
actually
do it,
think
yeah.
whether the external work is going to be done with phase one of the toilets, and then I think the internal reconfiguring needs to bear in mind and think about the use of that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Mm.
Does that go to service provision?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
delegating quite nicely, we're gathering
Well,
pace with
It's
the
nice.
It's not delegation, it's their role. So.
So, I think I may have proposed some of the things to what.
It's not down here.
Okay, so that will move forward, thank you. Internal control track, Chris, you were happy, you found 55 grand missing?
I saw,
You did your job
I saw
well.
it on the computer, yeah. No, I mean, it's a strange thing because it's just telling me what I'm doing, what I'm looking for, which. So yeah, that's a bit of a funny. He does a lot more about it than I do.
I don't think we should win it.
All the figures. I know, everything tallied. So yeah, it was fine.
Right.
And Rich was very helpful and guided me through that for the first time. And I did insist on seeing the 55,000 on the bank account.
July
Yeah.
account.
He did, yeah.
So there's one witness as well as with Rich's witness.
You've all seen the bank statement.
Okay, banking, anything we need to,
Just to note that sadly everything's gone a bit. It's been rather slow getting. So Councillor Blacker, Councillor Dixon, and Councillor Whitelaw have been taken off the bank mandates, but they've not yet added Councillor Morgan and Councillor Kirkby. So it's been very slow. Same thing with the multi-pay cards. Every page I looked at, I realised I needed 3 more signatures, so I've been continually hassling Councillor Colley and Councillor Bailey.
anybody passing by in the
Well,
street.
there's only 3 mandated councillors now, so it's always the same 3. You know, keep thrusting sheets in front of people and getting them to sign their lives away. But yeah, we're not really anywhere near close. So well, we are in the sense that I've filled it in, I've sent it off. We're just waiting for Unity Trust to okay it, and then they send it to Lloyd. So it's a very circuitous process.
You're not sure to signatures now though?
No, they've all gone. No, they've gone. Yeah.
I've had dealings with the Unity Trust in another part of my life. It's not much fun.
And then you'll be very pleased to know the HSBC accounts have now been closed. So it will mean that going forward you won't see all of these bank reconciliations. We'll just have 3 bank reconciliations, 2 Unity Trust and the 1 CCLA one. So hopefully that will make things a little easier. In terms of the CCLA, I've got the forms for Councillor Kirkby and Councillor Collin to fill in. I will present them to you at some point. I'm not going to do it today though.
Tease us. Okay, prioritising climate action activities. Is there anything that we've discussed tonight which needs climatising or publicising on a climate basis? I mean, we've already talked about merging the Gartside budgets, which would make more sense and avoid overlap where part of it is, strictly speaking, climate and the other part is improvement. Jenny?
I think when we're considering the grants working group, we have to make sure that this remains a priority.
Yeah.
And it's good that element remains on the application form and the evaluation form. And it is a priority. So I do think that the grants working party should meet sooner.
Yes, I will, as you know from Councillor Colley, I will be sending out the invitation, I will be sending out the documentation because she's having trouble with her emails, so I'll probably do it this week.
Right.
I can send emails on my telephone.
I I sympathise with these
And I
items.
can't, on the telephone I can't access the lists, so I have to type Home Valley Parish Council.gov.uk after every name, and on here I can get the list, but I can't put a message in. So, financial records for the website. That's just to note. Publicising the work. Is there anything that we've discussed, Roland?
I mean, the obvious thing is the grants and so on, where it's going to be done with that. But I was going to say, in terms of allotments, I can't remember whether we've actually done very much that publicising stuff about the allotments.
Well, we haven't.
And now would be an ideal time here, I would have thought, to go and take some nice pictures. I'm assuming they're growing some nice stuff there.
Yeah.
And, you know, let's do something.
You're after free Brussels sprouts, aren't you?
Doesn't everyone hate them?
No, apparently it's a myth. Apparently more of us like them than don't like them. It's a bit of a myth that we all hate sprouts. I love them.
I do as well.
All those in favour of sprouts?
I've already talked about Christmas trees last 2 days, so there we go.
Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you very much.